week 1 with Raymond back in work. So here he's just waiting for his ride. Sometimes he pulls back, but he's getting better at that. This was his second ride after a spell, and fourth ride off the track. So this is his bad rein. I try to spend a lot of time and walk if it's available, getting them to move off your legs and move around so they understand it. I find it easier at walk because it's a slower pace for them to learn it at and to pick it up. So I always go the good way first. You can see there he's really trying to stretch down and use himself. Always go the good way first, and then their bad way, because then they get the hang of it. Obviously, everyone does things differently. This is just how I do it. Just want to add that in there. He is waiting for front shoes here. He's a little bit sore. Well, not sore, but he's just running out of toes. He's a little bit footy. So he's just doing a little bit on the arena, and then he got shoes on later in the week, which will help his movement as well. And same trotting, I always go the good way first before I ask them to come back the other way. So just getting them to try and be rounder and be softer and use his back. Obviously, it's not always available, and sometimes you have to do different things. Like here, the young ones are running around in the paddock, so he got a bit of a fright. So we just tried to get him. He was never naughty, but he just got a little bit tense. So we're just trying to get him to be a bit rounder and a bit softer. And then you can see here, this is a second circle, and he's starting to use himself better and really come round and come through. Only little glimpses of it again. He's just come back into work. This is ride 4 off the track and ride 2 after a spell. So he's not expected to get it, but he's trying. It's just all about what they're offering and taking it in little glimpses. They're obviously not going to be perfect from the start. So you've just got to take what you can get. So this is his good way. And I just like to let them trot along. They don't understand you sitting on their back and cantering, so if you just let them trot along and encourage them into the canter, they do run along a little bit. He's probably worse than most. Some days he thinks he's a standardbred, I'm sure. Anyway, but he canters nicely, sits in it quite nicely, and then back to trot, give him a pat, and then head the other way. He's actually better. This time he picked up the wrong leg, and I just bring him back to trot, give him a little pat, and then we go again. Try not to make a big deal out of it, otherwise it does become an issue for them. Whereas if you can just give them a pat, tell them they're good. And then here he pops up into it, and when he's actually cantering, he does sit there quite nicely, and then all those things that you tried to work on and walk and then trot, you try and work on and canter. Obviously you're holding him out, keeping the circle bigger, and then back to trot, and gave him a pat, told him he was good. And then he's quite happy to stop here and have a pat, which is something that I like to make the most of. If they're going to stand, give them a big pat. This is day 3 of Raymond back in work, and he was going around the laneways for the first time. So I think it's really important to use this as an exercise, not only to get them out of the arena, but to teach them about things, which you'll see later in this video. Here's him having a trot. I don't know why they always look unsound and trot when you film like this, but anyway, he was having a good time trotting along. So you can see here, this is a puddle, so it's a really good opportunity. It's something easy and low stress, but just kick him over, and he understands that he has to go over it. It's a really good exercise if there's little things like that. This is cantering along, and then I dropped my phone, so I was cranky. So I went into one of the paddocks, found a tree stump, and prayed that Raymond would stand beside it so I can get on. He did, so that was a win. Then all he had to do was open this gate and get out. And then I walked him around the roundabout. As you can see, Junior's there trying to get us killed. And poor Raymond was like, what even? He's not used to a mad dog. And then we looked and the dog was gone, and then the dog turned up there. So that was a bit scary. So this is another exercise. I couldn't film it the first time because I needed 2 hands on my reins, but I wanted him to walk through this gap between the roundabouts and the fence. And he was a bit suspicious. He didn't really want to go the first time. And I took a little bit of encouraging, but this is the second time. And while he's still suspicious, he did what I asked. There's the dog again, and then the dog, mad dogs across the roundabouts, like there, yep. And then Raymond got a fright. Poor Raymond has a lot to deal with, and then this mad dog is mad dogging around. I think it's so important to get them out of the arena for their brains, but it gives you a chance to do exercises like this and do little things. You don't have to have anything great, but you can see how they're going to go and how they're going to react to different things. This puddle, for example, this was his second go through. The first guy needed 2 hands on the reins, just getting him to walk through and see how he does. And then he got a smoochie because he's a good boy, and all good boys get smoochies. Well done, Raymond. Then we were off to riding club, so that was pretty exciting. This is his first ridden outing, so unfortunately didn't get the walk. This is his first time trotting over 2 poles together, so he was pretty cool. He's got shoes on now, and you can see how much better his trot is, which is really cool. And again, 2 poles. Then back over the 2 poles this way, and you can see he's trying to offer some nice work there. Obviously he's still drifting out a little bit through the right shoulder, but he's trying really hard to have everything under control for me and trying hard to be a good boy. This is his first time over 3 poles, and he's like, what? And didn't really know what he was doing, but tried hard. And then coming back round over the 3 poles, and he's got it sorted now, so he's a good boy. And then this is 3 poles again. I cannot stress enough how important it is to get these young horses out, or off the track horses out, to things like this and do something different with them. You can see here he's just about to be naughty. He was starting to feel a little bit tense and wind up, and I didn't quite know what was happening. And then he just has a little bit of a buck and a fart in the air, hop and a fart. And then he was back to being a total professional. So at the start, he didn't want to stand. He wasn't naughty. He was just a bit tense. He didn't want to stand. So I just let him walk around on a long rein, and didn't make a big deal out of it. Quite often, if you make a big deal out of it, it makes it worse for future. Whereas if you can just let them sort of mosey around, and then when they stand, give them a pat, give them a scratch, encourage them, it makes it a whole lot better. So that's what I did. And by the end of the lesson, he was standing quite well. So remembering this is ride 6 off the track and his first ridden outing. So important. He went out the day before when I took a horse to a dressage comp, and he stood at the truck all day, which was really good for him to learn that he just has to stand there and hang out. And then today we went out ridden. So he shared the lesson with one other horse, which again was a new thing for him, and there was trains going past and there was a few things going on, so it was really good to get a gauge on how he was going. But it's not a competition environment, it's not super hectic or super stressful, and it's a really good way to ease them into it. These are so important, these outings. They're like the building blocks, the foundations. The more you can do stuff like this to help set them up, the better they go. And obviously, he's going to learn from that and improve, and hopefully next time he goes out, he'll be even better, which is what you want. The best part, I thought, was when we have a walk here, you can see in a sec how he has a big stretch. I dropped the reins and he has a big stretch and he's really happy to relax. So that was awesome.